Hey guys, OG Albino here, bringing you guys another video. Tonight I'm sitting here, night before I can pick up Sword and Shield just because of pre-orders and stuff like that. Ridiculously excited about these games. I'm one of the people that totally looked ahead at leaks and spoilers and stuff like that just because I have no self-control whatsoever. I don't want to make a video talking about that because obviously I want to respect people who, are kind of abstaining and learning the new mods and learning what they do and their moves and stuff like that. They'll expect plenty of, draft guides and stuff like that once the games are officially launched. I have lots of plans with that, so I'll definitely be jumping on that train. But however, in the meantime, I figured it would be a cool time to talk about a lot of the moveset buffs that a lot of these mods get. There are a lot of new like TM type things in the game that previously weren't in it, and a lot of new mods get, and not a lot of new mods, a lot of old mods get a lot of cool new moves, and some of which are pretty insane. So I wanted to talk about those today and just give my thoughts on those and how I think they'll affect the draft league scene and stuff like that. So I feel like that would be a pretty cool video to go up. This will probably go up tomorrow, the day of Sword and Shield pickup for us in America and all that stuff. I bet Australians will already have it by then. Unfortunately, they'll have it before us damn Aussies. But yeah, with that being said, though, I think I've rambled on long enough for the intro. Again, I guess if you do think this is, should be considered spoilers, click off the video, maybe come back and watch it later tomorrow, or tonight when you pick up the game or something like that, or whenever you feel you've got enough mileage out of the game. But again, I won't be spoiling any new mods or anything like that. There will be maybe a couple new moves that are in the game that I'll be talking about. But other than that, it'll be pretty tame when it comes to spoilers and stuff like that. But yeah, with that being said, let's jump into our first mod, and I want to talk about the coolest mods first. I have three that I'm really excited about, especially for Draft League, and then afterwards we'll just be going in Pokédex order and stuff like that. But first off is Big Kyurem Black, and I guess by extension regular Kyurem. Now if you've played Draft before, or you even played Standard, you know Kyurem Black is an absolute monster. It has base 170 attack, I believe, which is pretty insane. Base 120 special attack, which is still very good in all honesty. But the one thing that Kyurem lacked was physical ice stab. If it had physical ice stab, this thing would be terrifying. And lo and behold, in Gen 8, it does in fact get some physical ice stab. It gets Icicle Spear, which is really cool, to be completely honest. I think that's absolutely amazing because while it might not be the greatest, physical ice stab being that it's a low power multi-hit move, so it's a bit unreliable in that sense and stuff like that, and it's if you get 2 hits you're kind of screwed. It's still physical ice stab nonetheless, coming off a base 170 attack, which is insane. And if you compound that on top of the fact that Kyurem Black gets Dragon Dance now, this mod is insane. It went from a great tier 1 mod to absolutely 100% going to be banned in Galar only leagues, even potentially in national dex leagues in my opinion. But in Galar only, like on Wi-Fi, this thing is 100% not not making a return. So I hope you use Kyurem Black in Gen 7 draft if you got the opportunity, because there's no way you're going to be able to use it unless it's in an Uber setting in Gen 8 draft, or if you have a league that just allows everything, that's cool. But most leagues at the very least are not going to allow this thing. When you start boosting this thing's speed on top of its attack and allowing it to switch up moves, so you don't have to take the drawback of equipping a choice scarf to this thing, that's terrifying. That's absolutely insane. Physical ice stab at +1 is going to just mow through teams. And it still has the raw wall breaking sets that I had access to before. Now Kyurem did take a big hit. It does not have access to Roost this generation, which is very big. Kyurem definitely appreciated Roost. It has phenomenal natural bulk, just phenomenal bulk in general, not even natural bulk. You can, I brought in defensive Kyurem plenty of times. Base 125 HP, 100 defense, 90 SPDF, so very bulky, which is great. This thing is 100% going to be banned. But another thing I'm very excited for is regular Kyurem. Now, regular Kyurem did also get Dragon Dance and Icicle Spear, which is really cool because people sleep on the fact that regular Kyurem, I believe, has base 130 attack, which is very strong. It's just you usually see it from a special side because it has much better coverage, especially. Again, it didn't have physical ice stab. It does get like Dragon Claw and Outrage and stuff like that. I've run mixed Kyurem before. It gets Iron Head for fairies and stuff like that, which is really cool as well. But mostly you're going to see special on Kyurem. So having that Dragon Dance option is going to make it very good, especially in a limited dex, type of format. On top of the fact that Kyurem, unless I'm completely tripping, I didn't write it down in my notes, but I remember seeing it in a video I was watching after I wrote down my notes, is that Kyurem actually gets Freeze Dry now. And that is insane. Kyurem getting Freeze Dry is pretty cool for this thing to be able to hit bulky waters, which it didn't really appreciate prior. Stuff like Talk Specs, which is in the game. My buddy Silver actually showed me a calc earlier today. Max special attack, timid, never melt ice cure, which is the ice type boosting item, actually is always a guaranteed 2-hit KO on Talk Specs. Max Spadef, it always guaranteed 2-hit KOs it, even after leftovers and all that good stuff. So that's a pretty insane stat to look at. Kyurem is going to be a menace, but again, it did lose Roost, and that is a very, that sucks for it. That's just huge. Sub Roost sets are going to lose the longevity Roost 3 tag. This thing love tagging Roost on because again, very naturally bulky. 125 HP, 90 defense, and 90 speed F, so a little bit less bulky than Kyurem Black. But you definitely saw this thing more in a defensive role than you would Kyurem Black and stuff like that typically. So regardless, though, I think that's a great addition to their move pools in Gen 8 going forward. Again, Kyurem Black definitely not going to be allowed in draft, but regular Kyurem gets 3 really cool moves as a buff, and Kyurem Black does too. I guess the freeze dry, that definitely helps it too. But yeah, let's move on to the next mon, which will be Hydreigon, one of my absolute favorite mons to use in draft. I've only used it once actually in UPBA, where I did not play very well that season, but I had so much fun prepping and building with Hydra. I've used it in tours, I've used it helping buddies prep, I've used it in mocks and stuff like that, and it's one of my favorite mons to build with, and it got a lot better this gen. Now it is in the same boat in Kyurem in the fact that it did lose Roost, which is really unfortunate for bulkier Hydra sets and stuff like that. Not the biggest deal in the world, but definitely very unfortunate. Definitely a hit it takes. But Hydreigon did get access to both Nasty Plot and Dragon Dance, as well as Hydro Pump, but the big two are going to be Nasty Plot and Dragon Dance. This makes this thing ridiculous. It previously, its only setup was Workup, which is still really cool. Workup Hydreigon won my buddy John a championship, a set that I recommended to him and all that stuff. Really cool set because you can boost on both sides. But Nasty Plot, boosting your base 125 special attack by 2 is terrifying because this thing has insane coverage. Dark Pulse, Dragon Pulse, Draco, Fire Blast, Earth Power, Surf, and Hydro now. A bunch of crazy Flash Cannon for fairies. What else does it get? Signal Beam for some reason. A lot of really cool moves that it can just absolutely just punch holes through teams with. And depending on Dynamax rules and leagues, I think this thing can be terrifying with a Dynamax, used on it after you get +2 with a Nasty Plot and just punching ginormous holes through teams. And it also got access to Dragon Dance. Now, people sleep on Hydreigon physically, just because of the fact that special attack is higher, but it still has base 105 attack, and it's very bulky, so it's a good bulky Dragon Dance user, and it gives it that other option. It's not going to be run Dragon Dance every single week, but it is a really viable option. It has good physical coverage as well. It gets Crunch as well, Earthquake, I believe it gets Iron Head. Does it get Iron Head? Let's check before I say that. It gets Iron Tail, which is a little less accurate, but it does hit those fairies super effectively, and it gets, cool moves like Super Power as well. So a bunch of really useful moves. And I think Hydreigon is going to, mark my words, be a top 5 tier 1. I don't think that's too hot of a take, to be completely honest. I think a lot of people are really thinking that, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be amazing in Gen 8 draft, especially in the Wi-Fi scene and all that stuff. And then lastly, of the most important, not the most important, that's not what I meant. The most, the coolest ones that I'm really excited for is Gengar. And Gengar actually got access to Nasty Plot, and that is really cool. This mon is incredibly fast, base 110. Well, that's not incredibly fast, but it's fast considering that this is a limited dex, and there's not going to be as many mons hovering at 110, so you're not going to be risking as many speed ties. You're not going to be outsped by as much stuff. There's still plenty of stuff that will outspeed this mon, but not as many things. And you have base 130 special attack with special coverage, all over the place. It has so much to hit mons. It has Focus Blast, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, Sludge Wave, which is now a TM, I believe, or something like it. It gets it naturally, like really easy, so you don't have to get that crazy event, which makes this thing really good. We don't have to wait for that. It gets access to Psychic and Thunderbolt and stuff like that. So this mon with a Nasty Plot boost is going to punch, Dazzling Gleam as well, that's a big one. It's going to punch a ginormous hole through teams. It's going to be hard to find opportunities to set up because you are incredibly frail. Though if you're invested, if you have a resist berry, or if you force something out that can't touch you, you get in on choice use, so it's locked into a normal move or something like that. This mon can really just decimate teams. It's gonna do so well. I honestly think it's I probably shouldn't say that. I honestly think this one's going to be, you know, really, really good in tier 1. I don't think it's going to be like, you know, top tier, like, you know, a top 5 mon like I think Hydra is. But I think this really, really boosts this thing's viability. And it's definitely going to be a staple tier 1 on a lot of, you know, draft teams. And I can see a lot of builds being based around this thing. It looks really, really good. But beyond this, I think I'm mostly just going to skim through mons really fast because I spent a lot of time talking about these first 3/4 because I'm really, really excited about those. The rest of these are awesome, and I'm excited to at least mention them, especially in a draft setting, because I think some of these might not be super useful in standard, but in draft where you can vary and, you know, change up your builds so often, I think they can be really, really, really useful. The first one, though, that we're going to talk about is going to be a Little Cup mon, because if you don't know, we play a lot of Little Cup on this channel. I help run the AP Little Cup Wi-Fi League. I absolutely love playing Little Cup Draft. I think it's a blast. If you haven't played so already, it's a great change of pace, in all honesty. So, Onyx actually gets Dragon Dance this generation. Dragon Dance as well as Head Smash. Head Smash isn't as big of a deal, though it does get Rock Head, I believe. Let me double check that to be completely sure. Onyx. Yeah, it does get Rock Head. It's actually like, you know, one of its primary abilities. So yeah, it gets Rock Head, so Dragon Dance Head Smash sets could be cool, but Onyx is actually incredibly fast for a Little Cup mon. Not incredibly fast. It's pretty fast for a Little Cup mon. I believe it hits base, hits 17 speed with a Jolly Nature and max speed, which is a really good speed tier. At +1, you're outspeeding pretty much everything besides very select few Scarfers, and you're risking speed ties with base 17 Scarfers, which is cool, but you have access to Earthquake and Rock Blast for a multi-hit move, which is always great in Little Cup, and as well as Head Smash now, which is really, really cool. You have Sturdy, so you can always pretty much guaranteed get a Dragon Dance up, provided that you have cleared the hazards on your side of the field. You also have Weak Armor as an option, so if you know you're not going up against much priority, it's a really good option as well, because you get your Dragon Dance boost up, you get the Weak Armor boost, and now absolutely nothing's outspeeding you. There's nothing in the game that's outspeeding you with the Scarf at that point. So I think it can be really, really cool, because the rock and ground coverage is so good in Little Cup. This mon's already pretty solid, and I think this makes it a lot better. So I'm really excited for Onyx to get Dragon Dance come Gen 8. But yeah, next up, we are actually going to go down, back down to Little Cup halfway. Also not really go down to Little Cup. It's going to be Blastoise / Squirtle, and they both get Shell Smash. I think that's really, really cool. It's about freaking time that Blastoise got Shell Smash. To be completely honest, it's like the Shell Pokemon. It's the Pokemon I think of when you say, like, Shell Pokemon. To be completely honest, it's going to be really, really cool. It has a great natural bulk, and it's not super slow. It has 78 base speed. You just don't really see it run offensively very often, unless it's a Mega Blastoise, which is unfortunately gone. However, in National Dex Leagues, Shell Smash Blastoise sounds terrifying. I do not want to play against that, if I'm going to be completely honest. But Shell Smash regular Blastoise is still going to be really, really cool. It's another one that I think can really benefit from the Dynamax, because if you don't know, water moves when they're Dynamax up, they set the rain. So if, say, you're a leftovers, or if you're like, you know, a leftover set with a water move, you can get lefties plus rain dish back, which is obviously really, really good recovery. I see that more so being a thing on like bulkier sets and stuff like that. But Shell Smash is still a really, really viable option. Has access to priority and Aqua Jet. Great special coverage, and it can be run physically as well. Like I said, it has base 83 attack opposed to 85 special attack. So you can run mixed, you can run special. I think it'll be really cool with Shell Smash, and I think Squirtle will obviously be really good in Little Cup as well. Squirtle's already a really solid Little Cup on. I think it got a lot better because of the Shell Smash and the buff to Rapid Spin, actually, giving both these mons +1 speed whenever they Rapid Spin. I think that's especially great for Squirtle because of how closely speed tiered everything is in Little Cup. +1 lets you pretty much outspeed everything, which is obviously really, really good. And it's a lot stronger in Little Cup because everything's not as bulky. But yeah, that's going to be Blastoise and Squirtle. Really excited for those two. Next up is going to be the token Gyarados getting Power Whip. That's pretty insane. I don't know why it gets Power Whip. Maybe because the shape of a whip. Honestly, I don't know. But getting Power Whip is great for bulky waters, especially the Rotom Wash, the very obvious Rotom Wash, especially in like standard play and OU. This lets this thing really break past that thing. +1 Power Whip is going to do a ton to those. But it's also good for other potential waters, potentially like a Quagsire if you're playing against that league. It can obviously stop you with its unaware, and it can shrug off waterfalls pretty well. But if you hit that thing with a Power Whip, it's going to get nuked. Stuff like that is obviously really, really good for Gyarados. I think that's cool. It really does open up a dimension of its game and kind of helps it out because it took a big hit losing Z moves and losing its Mega to lose that Mold Breaker Earthquake for stuff like Rotom and all that. But yeah, that's going to be Gyarados. I think everyone's beaten that one to death. Why that one's good. Next up is Sylveon getting Mystical Fire. This is great for Sylveon, especially with Hidden Powers being gone in Gen 8. It getting some kind of fire coverage to hit the steel types of the world, like the Ferrothorns I want to switch in, the Bronzogs, stuff like that. It's obviously great, especially for like spec sets, Calm Mind sets, or just like Wish Protect, Hyper Voice, Mystical Fire sets. Like, it's going to hit those things pretty hard. It's a good utility move too. I believe it always lowers special attack. Let me check. 100% chance to lower special attack. Yeah, so that's obviously really cool, potentially as like, just a neat little side effect that opponents have to keep in mind and stuff like that. So obviously that's really great for Sylveon. I think it made it a lot better than it was going to be. I think it took a big hit if it didn't get fire coverage and Hidden Powers were gone, because I meant a whole type just kind of walled that thing to the edge of the earth. So it getting Mystical Fire is great. Next up, we have Celebi getting Aura Sphere. That's really cool. It gives it a way to hit steel types, particularly Ferrothorn. It had Earth Power before, but now it can hit Ferrothorn super effectively, which is really cool. It also hits Dark type super effectively in the same button, so you don't have to click, have Dazzling Gleam for those. You can click Aura Sphere and hit most of those super effectively, which is really good. I think Celebi is going to be a very slept-on mon going into Gen 8. It's actually a mon I'm personally not a big fan of. At least I wasn't a fan of it in Gen 7. I never drafted just because it just didn't interest me. Looking at it, I just thought it was a little meh. But come this gen with its great move pool, with access to recovery, Calm Mind, Nasty Plot, U-Turn, Rocks, Aura Sphere now, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam, Giga Drain, a bunch of moves. This thing's gonna be really solid. I think it's honestly a tier 1 mod in Gen 8. But that's my personal opinion. You could definitely tell me if you think I'm wrong in the comments or anything like that, but that's my personal opinion going into it. Next up is Claydol. A lot of people probably don't care about this. I think Claydol's a really cool mon. I just love its design, and I wish it was better. But it actually got, a cool little buff in Gen 8. Not anything substantial, really crazy, but Rapid Spin giving it a +1 speed, and then Nasty Plot as well. It was what it got. So that's pretty cool. Its dual sounds aren't terrible. Psychic, hits a lot of the game, as well as, everything besides, dark types and I guess steel types. I think those are and other psychic types. But the steel types get hit by its earth power, which is really cool. So you can Nasty Plot up with our Claydol. Maybe get a +1 speed boost and outspeed some of the slower things in the game. It is already slow on its own. Like, Claydol's not super fast, to be completely honest. I think it's base 75, so it's not the slowest thing in the world. I don't know if it gets Rock Polish. It gets Rock Polish already, so it's not really good for double dance sets. But Ravistan giving it a speed boost is good for, like, bulky offensive sets that aren't running Nasty Plot or something like that. Pretty cool little buff to Claydol. Nothing crazy. It's just something I was excited for because I think Claydol's awesome. It was one of the ones I used in my first ever playthrough. Oh, it was my first ever, like, a real playthrough of Sapphire. My first ever playthrough, I just used Swampert. But yeah, next up is Rachi. It actually gets Aura Sphere. That's another cool thing. It gets its specials coverage to hit steel types. It got Drain Punch before, but it gets Aura Sphere now. It would have been cool if like Heatran was still here and it got Aura Sphere for Calm Mind sets. But I figured it's a nice little tech to throw against steel types. Nothing too crazy though. And Rachi's going to be really good in Gen 8, obviously. It's definitely going to be a tier 1. It was already tier 1 Gen 7, and then with the limited mons, that definitely helps. Next up is Ferrothorn. I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but I think it's really cool. It gets a new move called Body Press. It's a new move in Gen 8 in general. It's a 80 base power physical fighting move that does damage based on your defense stat. Ferrothorn has a base 131 defense stat. If you're defensive Ferrothorn, you're throwing off body presses, that's really cool. You're going to be doing some damage to some mons that you typically wouldn't touch, like steel types. Ferrothorn mirror matches, if you're doing 2 draft pulls or something like that. I think that's really big. Or just steel types in general that would previously come in, maybe set up a sub on this thing. Or just wall it, to the edge of the earth. Now you have a move to actually potentially hit them, which is really cool. Again, not the biggest deal in the world, especially for standard. I don't think they'll really run very often. But for draft, I think it's a really cool, neat type move to slap on there if you have the move slots in order to, fill up that, use that move and stuff like that. Next up, we also have Abomasnow. Well, I skipped all the way down to Ferrothorn and skipped like 2 mons. Oops. But we have Abomasnow and Vanillix. Both kind of in the same because they both got Aurora Veil. And this isn't the biggest deal in the world for standard, but I think it's a big deal for draft because now we have more than one Veil setter that also gets Snow Warning, I suppose. I mean, a lot of mons get Veil, but not all of them set Auto Hail like Alola Ninetales. While these two now do, they aren't the best in the world, especially bulk-wise. They're not going to be, fat mons that are really going to, stick around for a long time. But having that option of Veil is really good. It's, really terrifying to prep for if you're going up against, a really offensive HO team against Veil. And they just set up in your face and, win the game. That's obviously not a good time. So I feel Like that gives Abomasnow and Vanillish a lot more value and utility in the lower tiers and stuff like that. We also have Conch. There's another Pokemon we have to talk about. It gives close combat now, which is awesome. It's better than Superpower. It gives it a really, really strong move, like Guts Conch throwing off CCs, or like Conch under Trick Room throwing off CCs. Is scary, but it also gets Defog, and nobody knows why, but it does, which is pretty cool. It gives it, it gives us another Defogger, which we actually don't have too many of. The Rotoms don't get Defog anymore, but Conch does, because it can swing its big Cinder Blocks and blow away all the hazards. But it's pretty cool that it gets it. I mean, it's a mon that gets Defog in general, so I'm not going to complain too hard. I think it's pretty hilarious. I can't wait to see if it has like a weird animation for it or something like that. But yeah. Next up is a really, really cool one that I'm really excited for, is actually going to be Durant getting first impression. That's obviously really, really good for it. Durant is incredibly strong off of a base. How much attack? Durant. Let's type it in, sorry. 109 base attack on top of a, hustle boost is going to really hurt with that priority. Really just punching holes through teams. This mon is really, really strong. If you're throwing a Life Orb on it or throwing on a band or something, that could be potentially a really good revenge kill. Throwing off big first impressions with 90 and always having priority and going first, 100% accuracy. So you're not taking too much of a hit from hustle. Obviously, it still is a little inaccurate because of hustle, but that's obviously really, really cool. I think it's going to be a really good option for Durant, especially in draft, giving a little bit more value. Next up is Braviary, also getting close combat. It gets Hurricane as well, but that's not a big deal because it's not running special. But Braviary gets close combat. That's great because it doesn't have to rely on superpower. Not the craziest thing in the world, but it's obviously really, really nice for it, and just kind of a quality of life thing. Lucha, Hawlucha getting close combat and Brave Bird, really, really cool. I personally think Hawlucha is going to be insane this gen. I remember going into this gen thinking, oh, we don't have to deal with Tapu Lucha cores anymore, like Coco Lucha, Fiend Lucha, Bulu Lucha, Lele Lucha, if your league was allowing Lele for some reason. But quick little spoiler, skip ahead like 15 seconds if you want to hear this. 3, 2, 1. There are mons that actually get the surge abilities in Gen 8 that are not legendaries. They're not the Tapus. The Tapus aren't in the game, but there are 4 mons that get Electric Surge, Misty Surge, Grassy Surge, and Psychic Surge, respectively. So that makes Lucha still have that value in getting that. And you have to use it on a lower tier mon, which hurts. But you can also throw off just White Herb close combats, get your Unburden proc after you SD before that, and just run through teams like that. And it still has access to acrobatics and a bunch of cool stuff. So Lucha's going to be a big threat. I think it's going to be one of the better tier 1s, actually, this gen, in my humble opinion. Next up is going to be Marina. We're getting into the home stretch here. Gen 7 mons that made the cut and got some buffs. After that, we won't be talking about any Gen 8s, but Marina does get Calm Mind now, and I think that's really cool. Having a way to boost its special attack and special defense. This thing is really strong. I can see Rest Talk Marina sets doing incredibly, incredibly well versus teams. And this thing is already strong enough as it is. I loved using Marina in Gen 7, and I'm kind of glad it got added in Gen 8, as well as Decidueye and Incineroar. Incineroar not as much because I want to get into VGC, and from what I've heard, it's not the funnest mon to play against in VGC when it's on every team. But Primarina is a mon I love using in drafts, so I'm really glad it's back. Next up is Vikavolt. Vikavolt actually gets Sticky Web, which gives an insane value as a low tier mon setting. Sticky Web being naturally bulky, having a ground immunity, really, really solid. However, it did lose Roost, which does hurt its bulkier sets. It's still a very strong mon though, very slow, but has access to Sticky Web and Volt Switch and Energy Ball for ground types. And I think Energy Ball for ground types is big, being that we can't just slap HP Ice on our electric types to hit ground types anymore. If you don't have the coverage for it, you don't have the coverage for it. So I think that's pretty valuable in itself. I think Vikavolt's going to be a pretty good low tier mon, like a tier 4 mon. Beware, personal favorite of mine. I love Beware. Getting close combat and Darkest Lariat. Close combat is great just because it's great fighting stab. It's better than Superpower. It's better than Hammer Arm. It's better than Drain Punch in some situations. So close combat is great for really offensive, strong Beware stats. And it also gets Darkest Lariat, which is cool because it gives it a better way of hitting Psychic types and Ghost types, which previously its best way of hitting was Shadow Claw. So I believe Darkest Lariat is stronger. Let me check. Darkest Lariat. Type it in. Have it on Durant. That's pretty funny. 85. Yeah, so it is stronger than Shadow Claw, which is really cool. It gives it a way to hit those mons at the very least, and that's all you really need with Beware. It is a strong, terrifying mon. Next up is Komodo, another personal favorite of mine. I love Kaumu. I think it's a great draft league mon. I had Blast using an IBL. Unfortunately, it did take a bit of a hit with no Z move because it had its signature Z move that gave it an Omni boost, though that wasn't usually allowed in leagues. However, we thought it was going to take a big hit, because it actually got a new signature move called Clangorous Soul, which is essentially, from what I understand, it could be less HP than this, but from what I understand, you lose half your HP like a belly drum and you get an Omni boost, which is pretty cool for this thing. You know, you do have to sacrifice half your HP, so it does balance it out in that fact, but getting +1 in all your stats can be pretty terrifying for the late game. You could Drain Punch up some of that health, but potentially, you know, CC and, you know, Poison Jab through your opponent, Clang Scales through your opponent, and potentially just pick up sweeps like that. I love Komodo. It's going to be a tier 1 mon this gen, which is really cool. I can't wait to draft it. I have a lot of fun building with it and using it. And then lastly, we have Necrozma. Necrozma got Dragon Dance. It got another couple cool moves. Like, I got Psychic Fangs, but you're going to be using Photon Geyser. I got a couple cool moves I can't really remember, but Dragon Dance is really cool. Having a way to boost up physically with its speed and its attack at the same time is really cool for like, you know, physically offensive sets that, you know, want to break through, you know, like Spadef dark types, like Alolan, which isn't in the game, but like, say it was in the game, Dragon Dance would have been really cool against that thing. But Necrozma is looking to be really threatening in Gen 8, definitely a tier 1 Pokemon at the very least. But yeah, I think that's all of them that I wanted to talk about. There's plenty more, and I probably missed some, but these are the ones that immediately stuck out to me from a draft league perspective, and mons I think these, moves that I think these mons could take advantage of. Oh! Haxorus. Haxorus gets close combat and first impression, but it gets close combat. That's awesome. That's really good for it. It's really good fighting stab opposed to superpower. So, I mean, not stab. It's good fighting coverage opposed to superpower. So that's really cool. But yeah, other than that, I think that's about it. Let me know if you guys are excited for Sword and Shield to come out tomorrow. I am so incredibly excited. I cannot wait to jump into draft. I can't wait to jump into, you know, Wi-Fi battles and VGC, you know, doing different guides and stuff like that. This is a great time to be a Pokemon fan and stuff like that. So if you guys are juiced, let me know. I'll definitely have plenty of Sword and Shield content coming up. So if you are new, be sure to subscribe and stick around so you can see me battling opposed to me just rambling about Pokemon that I like and stuff like that. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna get out of here. Later, guys.